Hi everybody, it's Connie and it's Wednesday at 2 and I'm live. And today I want to talk about something that I was not going to include in my books very much, and that is the pandemic and coronavirus, etc. So, close to my heart has this new special called In This Together. And it is a special paper pack specifically for kind of the pandemic times. It's a little more geared to, I would say, the emotions and feelings and stuff like that. Hi Heather, hi Noelle. Before we start talking about that though, I wanted to kind of show you a trick online. Whenever you click on any workshop or bundle, so let's just click on this workshop kit, you scroll through and you can see what's included, but if you scroll down a little bit, there will be a link right there that says download guide, and when you click on that, it will have the cutting guide to make a project, and usually it's a bunch of scrapbook pages, sometimes some cards, but this is what some examples of the artwork that you can make using this kit, using this cutting guide. Hi Karen. And so anytime that you go into a workshop, look for that download because it's totally free, and when the paper pack is gone, the download is gone. And so you can save these up. What I do when I download these guides is I save them to iBooks. Isn't that cute? And you can, use that same cutting guide to any paper pack that you have. It's a nice way to use anything that you've got. So this is a cutting guide for some cards, for some pages. The actual project that Close to My Heart is going to do for this pack is they're doing an album, like a mini album, and I kind of want to show you some of the parts and pieces in person. So the stamp set is this. I love the miss your face. I think that would make some really fun cards right now because that is how a lot of people are feeling. And like I said, the last couple weeks I've been joining into a card making group for people, making cards for people in nursing homes and stuff, and that would be perfect. We've got this virtual hugs. I was thinking this little computer set right here, if you did a little cutting on that computer screen and cut out the word virtual hugs, you would just have a blank screen, and then you could fill it with whatever words you wanted on there, and then you would have it, you could put in a little happy birthday or a little how are you or whatever, thinking of you kind of thing. I just thought that was kind of cool. Now, this particular stamp set, I personally, the only stamp I've used is Miss Your Face because it kind of matches the sticker sheet. It's very close to the sticker sheet. It has some of the same sorts of images. And so, see, even the little Miss Your Face. So I will not probably be using this very much. If any of you would like to buy it from me for $5, just the first one who messages me can have it for $5. And it's not that I don't like it. It's cute. It's just I have to purge as I can and pare down. So this is a really nice set, and it makes some really nice things. How much COVID do you really want in your scrapbooks? That is a big question. And I did not want any, to be honest. I wasn't going to do anything. But you guys might remember earlier in the year, I did this layout with the pandemic. And what I really like about this layout is these months are just a download from the internet that kind of tell the timeline of when things happened. And yes, everybody's going to be able to Google this in the future or whatever. And that's cool. But I wanted to be able to open my book. I have a chronological book, and I wanted to be able to say, okay, this is what was happening in our world at the time. I did a little blurb. So this was my, you know, it only went up to June. This is what I did in June or July. And then during one of the album retreats, they came up with this page that had the highs and lows as the title. And I'm like, I do not do highs and lows in my books. And so I had this blank layout for a long time. And I finally thought, oh, it's perfect for the pandemic, because there's actually been some really good things that have come out of here. Hi, Denise. Yep, Denise, it's yours. You were the first one to respond, girl. I'll put your name on it. Anyway, so the highs are things like, you know, more family time and cooking together and watching the news together, and just we talk about events more than ever before. And the lows were things like empty shelves and just binge watching TV. Look, I even put like the Tiger King on there, because I will not remember the Tiger King unless I see that prompt, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And then of course our refrigerator going out, which I complained about nonstop. So yeah, let's see. So that is what I did for the pandemic, and I was perfectly happy just with that. And then this paper pack came out, and I'm like, well, I started looking at it closely. So if you look at one side, these are my scraps that are left over. It's not themed. You have a yellow stripe paper, some flowers, a multi-stripe, a green print, a purple print, and one side is checks and one side is dots for this one. And then if you flip the whole thing over, it's themed. So you end up with this overall bubble word print, which it's harder to use than you think. You know, these all over prints like this, you don't want to cover them up. You know, we've talked about that before. This one is kind of fun. It's got, you know, just general icons. This one is like what I call self-care words: relax, connect, laugh, chat, bubble baths, meditate, whatever. And then this print is actually masks, which is fun. This one is a fun one, and I definitely wanted to use that when I saw it. And then there's an all over toilet paper print. So I started looking at this paper and how I really wanted to use it. And I don't want a lot of COVID in my book, but how can you ignore it when it is such a big part of our lives right now? I already included, you know, the data and the effects of our world in my last layouts, but our personal life and how it's impacted, I think, could be a good way to go. I made this layout, which is very generic, could be used for anything. I didn't even put titles on it. And the photo mats I haven't attached yet, because I'm not sure what pictures I'm going to use with this. I was kind of thinking this might be nice for some spring pictures coming up, with all the floral stuff. So I did that one, and then I just made this one. This is my favorite. I don't know if you can see it. I should raise that up just a little. But I think you'll recognize, okay, so I used the grid and the zip strip. Here's the stripy print. And then I used the February stamp of the month because, you know, I try to use the stamp of the month whenever I can. And I love this little, I don't know, telephone cord swirl. And then that Love, Joy, Happiness thing. I know I've overused it. I can't help it. I actually have used every single stamp in this set except for the triangles. So I've gotten a lot of use out of this. I love it. And I know a lot of you did get the February set, so think about using it as a border on a page like this. I think it turned out really cute. There's that one. So that's the right and the left. They basically mirror each other. And I just thought this is not pandemic related at all. And I'll think of something to use for that too. I'm excited about that. It also comes, if you buy like the workshop kit, it comes with the little dots. So you may notice I used a few of the little dots. So I made like this little sheet because I wanted to talk a little bit about ideas on how to incorporate COVID into your book. What I was thinking was, you know, yeah, we're gonna have the data pages, and then I'm gonna flip to, you know, I have like pictures of us getting Kona ice. I have us at 4th of July. I have pictures of us going to the sunflower fields and, you know, all of those things that happened in between. But it's not, it would be weird to totally ignore the impact of the isolation and stuff in our life. And if you've had COVID-19 or had an experience with it, that would be an interesting story to tell, because in the future, you know, yeah, you can Google what happened to the world, but you can't necessarily say, hey, did you know, my grandma had COVID and lived through that time or whatever. I mean, you know, these are things that will be passed on to your kids. So I put down some ideas. You can screenshot that on, you know, ideas for putting in timelines or all those new terms that we learned, like, you know, flatten the curve and social distancing. I never in a million years as a nurse thought that the whole world would know what PPE was. I mean, that is something that, you know, as a nurse we deal with every single day for my entire life, essentially. And it's so weird to hear it used in a layman way, you know, just out in the community. Travel, were you, did you have changes in how you traveled, or, you know, wearing your masks, any shortages or empty shelves? I have a page here that I made. I know, I used that toilet paper, toilet paper. And I thought the toilet paper thing was the funniest thing that's happened during this whole pandemic. Of course, I did not run out. I got close, but anyway, so at the top here I put, you know, a toilet paper hoarder, and I know this is obnoxious, but I wrote shit just got real, people, and I wrote y'all crazy, and I didn't of course have any pictures of anything, so I took pictures off the internet of empty shelves. And I did take a picture of our grocery store when it was empty, and I sent it to my dad because he was not worried about running out at all. And I told him, I'm like, you may have trouble finding it if you don't start watching for it. And just a little story on the empty shelving thing. And then around the edge, you know, we had so many conversations in our home about toilet paper of all things that I just put some of the conversation that we had around the edges, like quotes, kind of. I just thought that was a fun use of that paper, and I don't know how else I would have used it. things like cancellations, and we had a lot of, when you were saying you were trying not to use too much COVID in your book to associate it with the senior year, Heather, I have to tell you that it's going to be a big issue if they change the way they do graduation, if they continue to do them virtually or online. People have gotten really creative in how they've done graduations with COVID, and I just think that it's going to be a hard thing to ignore, and it'll be forevermore. We'll be way past this, moving on to and getting back to normal, and someday somebody will go, remember when I graduated 10 years ago? That was in the middle of the pandemic. So I think that's kind of interesting. I personally had surgery during COVID, and so, oh my gosh, that was a huge change from the normal routine of what I was expecting during surgery. And just the whole packages and online shopping, delivery stuff, I just think that's crazy how much that has changed. So just some ideas. If you don't want to do the negative part, like all the story of, the bad things, you could focus on a hobby or something that you took up during this time. Binge watching the Tiger King, something funny, or something that you and your family, in my house, my husband hates Dr. Fauci. He doesn't want to hear his name ever again. He's like, it's on the news every day, and he goes back and forth so much, I just can't stand him. And so it's become a joke in our house. Oh, Steve, Dr. Fauci's on. And it's not that, it's something funny to our family. It's not something I would necessarily be spouting off to everyone in the world. But those are the kind of things that you could include in your book, that you would say, remember when the hearts and the rainbows and all of that were on all the windows. We still have some families in our neighborhood who have some hearts and things on their windows. And I had a few things on my window around this time last year. So I may make a page with that. Things that you miss. I had a neighbor whose mother died a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling me about it, and I hugged him, and both of us sort of jumped back and went, oh yeah, we're not supposed to be hugging. It was sort of a weird moment, and what a change that has been in our world to not be able to get together. I miss theaters, I miss music, arenas, stadiums, and I'm not that kind of person, and I miss it. So people who go to concerts and sports and stuff all the time, they've got to be missing it more than me, because I'm sort of a homebody, and even I'm starting to go a little stir crazy without those things. If you have done anything unusual or different or neat, like for me, documenting how weird it was to find a refrigerator freezer in a pandemic was an interesting story to tell. And I think that that's something that in the future we'll look back at that and go, oh yeah, remember when we could not find a refrigerator? We had to go to 7 different places to find one. And so, you think about stuff like that, and those are the stories that someday you'll look back on and want to know how it impacted you. And the last page I have here, I know it gets old. It's like very lectury, but ideas for pictures, because if you're like me, I don't go around snapping pictures around my house. I don't take a lot of pictures of us hanging out in our pajamas or watching TV or cooking for that matter. And so I've made a point to start snapping a few pictures here and there. You could fill in space by taking pictures of, hand sanitizer or washing your hands, empty shelves, those X marks on the floor at like Walmart or whatever that tell you how far apart you have to stand. You could take a picture on your computer, or you could even go to your computer and print off some things like I did. Big packages on your doorstep, and then just tell the story of how you started buying groceries that got delivered. I mean, it's a very foreign thing before the pandemic. Really, it just wasn't very common to do that. Or your parked car. I am on a Facebook page where people who stay home we're just talking about, can we all go back to a one-car family, or are we, stuck with a two-car family? It was a big discussion. It was kind of interesting because there are so many people who are staying home and working from home that they feel like they don't need two cars anymore. It was a really interesting thing because when I grew up, having one car was sort of the thing. Take a picture of people wearing their mask. I had that one picture of me wearing my mask, but then I also, this was an interesting, that mask paper. This is where I stamped the Miss Your Face. And then I have the I am smiling sticker on there, wear a mask. And this whole page, I just thought, I have that picture of me, but I think I'm going to take a picture of Steve and Jen with their masks on for this. And I did not make a 2-page layout, but it is kind of an interesting thing, and to be able to tell the story about having to wear a mask all day long. As a nurse, even as a nurse, I would not wear a mask the entire shift that I worked. I just never did. You may have particular patients where you needed to wear a mask every single time you entered their room or whatever, but the whole wearing a mask nonstop every day, oh my gosh, that's horrible. It's like torture. And so that is something that is novel even to people in the nursing field. Anyway, so, and again, I made my mats kind of so that I can use that paper later, ready to go when I get pictures taken. And I was going to use that's like a watercolor that I did a while back. Okay. And then pets and people on Zoom or cooking, playing games, everybody in their PJs. You could, if you're really into the news part, you could include the protests and the wildfires and floods and murder hornets and all of the craziness that has happened this year. I kind of feel like I don't need to know that in my scrapbook, but I do like showing how we filled our time and how we got through it emotionally. And so this page I made of us just hanging out with our pets, playing games. I just took a few pictures in the end. I don't even think this needs much of a story since it's going to go next to the pages where I have a lot of story. So, woo, that's a lot of talking. You guys, I'm sure, have a ton of ideas on how you could scrapbook some of the pandemic stuff, and you could just take a piece that you just started cooking more. And even if you don't tell a whole bunch of pandemic stuff, you could just say we were staying home more during this time and we took up this hobby, or we started walking every night, or whatever. You'll notice I used that all over word bubble print in the background, and I worked really hard not to cover it all up, because even though I cannot stand some of the sayings, like I'm just tired of hearing some of the sayings, the social distancing and that kind of stuff. I don't necessarily want to make that a huge feature of my book, but it is kind of nice to have that all over print in the background, and just kind of how we filled our time. So, all right. Is there anything else that I want to talk about. This paper is good through end of March, and I want to show you one other promotion. There's a bunch of promotions ending. So the Blossom Bring Back My Pack is going away. I have one Blossom workshop that I have here that I am not going to end up using. If any of you are interested in the Blossom pack, it is the entire workshop. I will sell that discounted because I don't really want it in my stash. Now that I've used a bunch of it. The Perfect Match is ending this month. You know, the Perfect Match is that Valentine-y looking one. I did buy more of that because as I used it, I realized I love it. And I have a lot of pictures that kind of go with this. And so I ended up buying more of the Perfect Match. And then, of course, tomorrow is the VIP We Are Good Together workshop for those of you who purchased that. That'll be fun. The new thing is there's a kid craft called Pages for All Ages, and they're making several layouts as a kid craft, and you can buy them as kits. You might look at them because basically what they are is the same like cut above sort of kits like in the subscriptions, and they're just going to do it. They're simple enough to do with kids, so you know that's why they're featuring it, but in reality that some of them are really nice. And then the last but not least, the pocket cards have started. That lovely paper and the birthday paper, one of the biggest problems that we had was that there wasn't much in the accessory to go with it. We really love the Picture My Life cards, and so these turned out really nice. I just got them in the mail a few days ago, and I will be doing something with those because those are cool. I really like those. The new thing that's going to pop up in March is that cardstock special, and March is one of our Hostess Club months. So if you are someone who, you know, you're not sure what to buy, stocking up on a few cardstock is not a bad idea. For example, in this paper pack, there are hints of orange in it, of the nectarine color, but nectarine is not one of the cardstock colors that came in the pack, and so I found that nectarine really looked nice with it. See, I used it right here, and so maybe I don't know, it's just really nice to have a few sheets of cardstock on hand to go with these paper packs. And I'll show you this one more time. This is my older pandemic page with, this was telling the story of what happened, and then the other page was kind of telling what happened in our home. So I have a lot of journaling on here, as you can see. But we had a lot of, we had funerals, graduations, sport events, birthdays, get-togethers. All of that has been canceled this year. I'm sure all of you have had issues like that. And so I hope that I've given you some ideas for how to incorporate that into your books. Next week, we're walking through the new catalog together. You should start getting them in the mail soon. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.